Every time a major studio releases a new movie set in the Bronze Age, the same complaint rolls in. Hollywood ruined the original story again. This ongoing friction between ancient epic and modern blockbuster reveals a battle for cultural ownership. We assume the film industry is hacking apart a definitive historical text just to sell tickets. There is just one problem with that assumption. There is no original text. Homer is a symbolic anchor for a fluid tradition, not a verified historical author with a modern copyright. Because the name represents centuries of shifting oral storytelling, every studio alteration is simply a continuation of that chain. Hollywood is participating in the tradition of adaptation, not deviating from it. Look at the ancient performance space. Rhapsodes, professional storytellers, would stand before massive crowds and modify their verses in real time, tailoring the myth to the people right in front of them. Today, cameras have replaced bards. The multiplex has replaced the stone amphitheater. The industrial film set has become the modern mechanism for the oral tradition. The true struggle in adapting epic poetry is the violent collision between two entirely different narrative architectures. Wolfgang Petersen's 2004 film, Troy, attempted to ground the Trojan War in plausible warfare. Petersen built a realistic Bronze Age epic. He relied on the default architecture of the Hollywood blockbuster. This industry depends on linear progression, clear antagonists, and logical political realism. Achieving this realism required stripping away the gods and overt divine intervention. In Homeric poetry, the gods function as narrative load-bearing walls. They externalize human conflict and fate, acting as mechanisms that represent emotional absolutes like sudden rage or wisdom. Removing divine causality flattens the emotional scale of the epic. Achilles is reduced from a semi-divine figure caught between mortality and glory to a charismatic warrior navigating Bronze Age geopolitics. That linear, grounded approach failed when Hollywood tried to adapt the Odyssey. The Odyssey resists the linear blockbuster blueprint. It is an episodic, non-linear web built on displacements, fragmented memories, and constant wandering. Navigating that labyrinth is a protagonist who breaks the modern heroic mold. Odysseus lies, constantly shifts his identity, and lacks a stable emotional core. Standard blockbuster architecture collapses when forced to house a hero defined by his structural instability. Properly adapting this journey requires a filmmaker whose style is built on structural instability, someone like Christopher Nolan. Nolan's narrative toolkit consists of fractured time and unreliable perception. He explores how memory and shifting identity can distort reality. These techniques align directly with the ancient oral tradition. In Homeric poetry, repetition and variation are intended structural features. Meaning emerges through variation, not consistency. Modern cinema has the capacity to match ancient epic, but only by abandoning traditional linearity for structural mythmaking. Even a complex, non-linear approach carries a risk of over-psychologizing. Ancient storytellers externalized forces as monsters. Modern cinema tends to internalize everything, turning sirens and cyclopes into metaphors for trauma and memory. This shift changes the story's climax. In the Homeric context, Odysseus's violent return to Ithaca was a brutal restoration of mythic order. Framing that slaughter as justified psychological revenge replaces the very mechanism that gave the myth its meaning. It trades moral ambiguity for a clean, modern resolution. This raises a central, lingering question. Who actually owns Homer? The story belongs to adaptation itself. Myth survives because it is constantly distorted to fit the cultural lens of its era. The Odyssey remains an indestructible narrative engine,